Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Cast your mind back but 24 hours, and we did a video about the Scotland team and how it's not shown on TV, outside, of course, of major tournaments. It is actually shown on TV, of course, but it's behind a paywall. You have to sign up to whatever the channel is that provides it. And it's the same in England. It just so happened that the people who bought the rights were ITV and Channel 4. Those rights are available for STV, say, to buy, but they chose not to. Apparently, they don't have the money. But there's a big furore going on. All the politicians saying, oh, yes, we'll bring it. We'll bring all the Scotland games to the TV. We're going to do that because we're great and we're super. Vote for us and get football. And that's fine. The unfortunate thing is, of course, the cost. Now, you are having to remember, of course, this is Scotland. This is the SNP's Scotland, who haven't got two brass farthings to rub together. So how on earth are they going to afford the cost of football? They can't even afford to treat people in hospital or to educate children. They can afford, of course, to send Angus Robertson all around the world. But, children and old people being looked after in hospital, not so much. Education, nah. Communications, no. Infrastructure, no. Care in the community, no. Angus travelling, yes. Foreign embassies, yes. Football, it's a maybe. And the reason it's a maybe is it might just please the plebs enough that they vote for the SNP. It may be their big political ploy. Let's blow all this cash so that the masses vote for us. Beer and football. Just like Orwell said, really, isn't it? Let's take a look. So, cash-strapped Humza Yousaf would need to find £15 million to fulfil the promise of Scotland games on free TV. He hasn't got that kind of money. They've just cut 200 million off the housing money. Housing people is more important than TV, and if he can't even afford to house people, how on earth is he going to afford to put TV on? Who the hell's watching it? Everyone's on the streets, homeless. The man's a buffoon. The First Minister promised Scots he would try to get all of Steve Clarke's men's games on free TV, like BBC and STV, but this would prove costly to an already skint Scottish government. They spend money on the things that people don't want. They don't spend them on the things people do want. And if people think that having football and TV is more important than, say, hiring doctors and nurses, then I think people have really got to wise up. At the end of the day, it is only a game played by millionaires falling over at every available opportunity, whereas, hospitals kind of more important, I think. The cash-strapped Scottish government would need to fork out nearly £15 million a year if it wanted to screen Scotland national football matches on free-to-air. Sometimes reading is hard, you understand. Anyway, this is to fill the black hole in the Scottish Football Association's budget because, of course, the sponsors pay the money for these games, the rights to these games, and the Football Association needs the money. It hasn't got enough. Doesn't generate enough through gateage because outside of maybe the top 4 or 5 teams, you've obviously got the big 4, Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen and Forest Mechanics. Outside of those big 4, you ain't generating anything at a football game, are you? I mean, even some of the home derbies tend to even be then a bit, not so great. But it is what it is. It's Scottish football. There's not a lot of people in Scotland. And so if you're not generating it through gate receipts and, selling tops and whatever, TV receipts are all you've got. And it's who's willing to pay the most for TV receipts. And ultimately, it isn't STV or the BBC. Anyway, he said he and the SNP boasted that they would take this case to Westminster. But who have a list of what they call the so-called crown jewel sporting events, which must be broadcast on terrestrial stations. But removing the TV rights from a paid-for broadcaster would also mean significantly less money from the SFA, who rely on the cash to help fund the country's grassroots football. Now, the only way this would work is not if the Scottish government were to say, right, we're passing a law that says they must be shown and therefore they have the rights, but they're not going to pay anything. But if they went into the bidding as well in order to provide funding, and that's the only way it would work. Because you can guarantee that if they pass the law and say, oh yeah, no, don't worry, we'll give you some money, and they give them a bit of money, then next year, oh, we've just got to cut the budget a bit, got to cut the budget a bit more, and next thing you know, not giving them sod all. Who the hell's going to watch games like that then? No footballers, Anyway, the Scottish Government is already having well-documented cash flow difficulties. It's about $2 billion in the hole. They haven't got enough money. I mean, you think over a 5-year government, 15 million a year, 75 million. Well, I mean, that's almost half your housing budget, isn't it? Anyway, this is resulting in income tax being hiked up and huge budget cuts to the likes of affordable housing, which I mentioned earlier. Ministers have blamed the UK government for this and still want independence. Weird. So it'd be seemingly impossible to splash out £15 million a year to put Scotland games on free-to-view TV. Nordic streamer Viaplay hold the contract currently for the team's Euros and World Cup qualifiers, as well as friendlies and Nations League games, after being the winning bidder in an open contest, with that £15 million being spent annually up until 2028. By which time, of course, the SNP hopefully won't be in power. The SNP have long campaigned for these matches to be free for Scots, but have never included the cost of this. Mr Yousaf is launching a consultation on this later this year, just as Steve Clarke's men gear up for Euro 2024, claiming that our vision is for all the fans to be able to watch their national teams as they battle to reach the world's biggest competitions. Well, you better get your checkbook out then, boyo, and stop sending Angus around the world. Save a few pennies, watch a few football games. Once again, his statement did not reveal any of the costs for this, just the calling on the UK government to tweak their Crown Jewels list. Now, you see, England's qualifiers aren't part of the Crown Jewels, and they've got the list of the Crown Jewels here, what they call protected rights. So, Olympics, Paralympics, FIFA World Cup finals, FIFA Women's World Cup finals, European Champions finals, European Women's Champions finals, FA Cup final, Scottish FA Cup final, Grand National, Wimbledon, Rugby World Cup finals, the Derby, the Rugby League Challenge Cup. Not the Gold Cup. I'm very surprised at that. Anyway, there you go. So they're there. Then what they call secondary, which is where highlights must be on TV. Cricket test matches played in England. Non-finals play in Wimbledon tournament. All other matches in the Rugby World Cup finals tournament. Six Nations rugby tournament matches involving home countries. Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games isn't guaranteed on TV. I find that most odd. But anyway, that's there. World Athletics, Cricket World Cup, the final semi-finals matches involving home nations teams, the Ryder Cup, and the Open Golf Championship. Okay, fair enough. Not too bad. But as you see, no England qualifying games. So why should Scotland have what England don't, or Ireland don't, or Wales don't? If Scotland won it, as in if Humza Yousaf and the SNP won it, ka-ching, money time. First Minister's plans would also include the Scottish women's national team, and this means the teams have to have the same protected status like Wimbledon, the Olympics and the Grand National. But he will need to explain to SFA bodies how he would cover the £15 million black hole, and that would be growing each year, but that's sorted out by contracts. The money accounts for about a third of the Hampden outfit's entire revenue stream and goes towards vital projects which prop up the grassroots games. Yousaf has promised to hold talks with the SFA Chief Executive Ian Maxwell before pushing through his appeal to those at Westminster who retain the final say. And that'll be all he can do. Yabba, 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 chat. He's not going to achieve anything. Nobody will trust the SNP to guarantee £15 million a year for, say, 5 years, and then 18 million for 5 years after that, then 22 million for 5 years after that, and so forth. No one will trust them on it. Oh, haven't got the budget this year, cut it. It's a commercial organisation, they pay. End of story. End of story. Coming up. Like everything else with Humza Yousaf and the SNP, it's all smoke and mirrors. It's all piss and wind. It's all bollocks. He talks the good game. He makes announcements. It's look at me as I say these words. But we all know he's totally incapable of delivering. It's never going to happen. Anyone who thinks this is happening, be sitting down like, oh, Humza's going to do it for us. Humza's going to do it. Grow up. No, he's not. Never in a million years is he going to do it. He hasn't got the money, and nobody trusts him. And that's the problem. He's a liar. He's been caught lying too often. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.